it's good to have ambassadors and evangelists. I like to say evangelists better than ambassadors. So Ciroc Boys, the DJ campaign, that was extremely beneficial.
Thank you.
And even with, Bad Boy, the street team, nobody really does street teams anymore, but Rough Riders, they probably had one of the best street teams I've ever seen, with all of those bikers and t-shirts, and it just becomes so, energetic that you just see everybody, you just want to be a part of it. So talk about that as far as like how important is that when it comes to marketing. And yeah, I'm sure you was involved in some capacity with the Ciroc situation, so maybe you can talk directly to that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The thing that's part of that credibility factor that I was talking about, right? And so figuring out ways to have other people speaking about your brand or thing on your behalf, that's all part of it. And Bad Boy, they were the kings of street teaming, right? The kings. And I think a lot of that strategy evolved into some of the things that we did at Blue Flame for Below the Line. I remember we did a campaign for, I don't know if you guys remember Puff's album, Last Train to Paris, with Diddy Dirty Money.
Yeah.
So we were trying to think of all of these amazing things that we could do. We wanted to take over Grand Central Station and the 4 train line and have a party on the train that landed like craziness, right? And at the time, it just wasn't feasible with the city. But we were like, what could we do that was disruptive? And so we did this blast street team campaign where we took over the train signs. Like in the middle of the night, we posted fake train signs that said Last Train to Paris all over the city. And it caused this crazy ruckus, and we got all kinds of news and noteworthiness for it, and we literally had to take it down by a certain hour before we got penalized. But it was a real strategy. At like 2:00 in the morning, we went out and post no bills, plastered these campaigns all over the city, and literally by 12 they were gone. Like, what posters? And so everybody was just like, what kind of magic trick was this? And so doing really unique things like that in the marketplace was a lot of fun, taking over Times Square. And it's just, I think the flash mob sort of comes from that street team strategy, that street team methodology.
Remember when they were trying to find a dude, Cody? Remember him?
These posters just kept going up everywhere.
So it was like an African dictator, allegedly, that was like using child soldiers. So it was so crazy because one day I just woke up and I just saw like Rihanna had posted, like, it was like, they had the Obama Hope poster.
Mm-hmm.
So they transformed that into like Find Cody 2018 or something like that. I forgot what year it was. But within one day, almost every major celebrity had posted it on their social media. And there was just like signs randomly all over the place.
Amazing.
It's one of the most effective campaigns ever. Nothing really came of it. But I just still to this day, it was just amazing that so many people was really just, they didn't even know why they were posting it. It was just like, once one person posted it, then everybody else started to post it, and then it just went super viral. Diddy posted it; it went super viral. So yeah, I just was always intrigued with that. But the flash mob, going back to your thing, flash mob situation, I feel like that's kind of been transitioned now because everything is social media.
Yes. Yeah.
So now it's not the same as it was previously. In some regards, it's better because now you can post on social media and then you can get people from all over the world, but it doesn't have that same in-person effect.
Yeah. I mean, but you're talking 10 years ago, so it evolves.
No, the world changes.
The world changes.
Sure. Like you're not going to see street teams anymore, right?
That's over.
Yeah.
Unless somebody brings it back.
What's funny? I don't think street teams are over. I think
I just don't see them.
You don't see them because it's like, how do you do it differently? Right? Like what's the new edge or the new, because nothing beats face-to-face touch point communication. Nothing beats me talking to you about why my brand is great, right? But doing it in a way that makes sense for me. So I think fundamentally street teams could still work. It's just the way that they do them has to change.
Yeah.
So even in transitioning, talking about you on a professional level, you've gone through different spaces, right? You started in media, there's a tech component, there's a cannabis component. How has your approach changed with going through industries?
My approach has not really changed because fundamentally there's just a paradigm. Like I just broke down the 3 types of media, right? It's not rocket science. It really is just understanding what your brand represents, where you're trying to take your brand, and who you're speaking to. Because the rules don't change, the people do. So like I said, street teams could still work. They just need to work differently because people don't interact in the same way they used to interact. So the same goes for, the strategies. Like I know what works and what doesn't work in the marketplace. It's just understanding when to use it and how to use it depending on your audience.
So so you were employee for Bad Boy, right?
Yep.
So you left at some point.
Yep.
And
After 8 times,
Nine and a half
times
years
being promoted.
Oh, yes.
You got to keep that part in.
so you become self-employed?
No, yes, sort of. Yeah, you can say that. I actually was a project-based consultant for a few years, and I had a lot of fun. I worked with Scott Mills at BET for about 13 months, helping the team strategize their experience business. So the awards every year. They have 3 days leading up to the awards called the BET Experience. It's like this amazing consumer-driven fan base, fan zone. And we were thinking about how we could scale that opportunity and take it global and do some really unique things pre-COVID. So that was a ton of fun. And then I got recruited by Al Harrington to come over to Viola. And I just thought this really could be the Ciroc of cannabis. It was such an amazing brand. And I'd always wanted to work in cannabis, even from the time it became legal in Colorado. I was like, I would love to just move to Colorado and work on cannabis.
So how was working in cannabis different from working in liquor?
What's funny is there are not a ton of major differences because it's a regulatory industry. And, I always say America is a country of precedents, right? Mm-hmm. So we use the Constitution to create new laws and, amendments and all the things. And when you think about prohibition in this country and what went on with alcohol and the legalization of alcohol, the very same things are happening in cannabis. So, history is an indicator. You can kind of gauge what's going to happen in cannabis in the next few years.
When you spoke about the BET experience, it's something that we actually, we've been a part of. Mm-hmm. I wonder how often are you going to different activations and taking in the experiences and saying, this is something we can add. Is that part of what you're doing as well? Like, I feel like when we went to the Super Bowl, it was the first time we were there as number one, as entrepreneurs, and looking at the things that were taking place and saying, this is something that we can implement. We're going into media rooms and we're seeing how things are set up and saying, these are things that we can implement. Is that something that you've done throughout your career?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have friends that have, in their wedding process, getting married, they start actively attending other friends' weddings just to see creative things that other people are doing in their process and how things flow. Same goes for us in business. You should be attending as many finance conferences as you can, as many lifestyle conferences as you can, to figure out what consumers are looking for, what's missing, and how you could do things different and elevate it, for your own experience. Absolutely.